ADC, Reckless doesn't get that comfort pick. So I almost think there's like some serious mind games happening in every single lane, but especially between these support pools and how it affects the AD carries.
Ooh. All right, so now we're actually seeing a shift up from Fnatic's side, where in Game 1 they banned the Lissandra, Game 3, but now they ban the Braum, suggesting that they want to put priority on getting the Lissandra. So the question is, does Splyce then look to ban it away, or do they stick with, oh, they're actually going to shift things up and go for a Karthus ban? So I believe this was actually available and up in Game 2, but they ended up just letting it, oh, my apologies, no, Fnatic actually were the ones to ban away, so it definitely feels like a red side ban that we're starting to see throughout the series.
Well, let's see. The options were available for champions. Hovered there on the Kai'Sa, and it is going to be the Lissandra locked in, as, of course, we saw that Braum banned away.
And then, just as you called it, Vedius, that does say to me that Humanoid will probably go towards the Zoe, unless he wants to take kind of a, not a losing matchup into Lissandra, but we know that Zoe has a great matchup into Liss. She's able to contest with the wave clear. She can help follow with some of her long range, and then can push her around and bully her in the lane.
So, I'm just going to throw it out there. I feel like a Draven is coming from the side of Splyce. The fact that they put so much emphasis on a Thresh and a Rek'Sai so early on in the draft, to me, this says that Splyce is looking to dominate that bot side of the map. And I just kind of want to throw it out there that I think a strong AD carry is going to come through from the side of Splyce.
Okay, I see which one it will be. If it's not the Draven, there are several other options available to them. The Jarvan is once again locked in, this time on the side of Fnatic. Could obviously go in the top lane by Bwipo. He had a tough game in the first of this series.
Two tough games, to be honest, mate.
If you have just joined us, Bwipo in the previous game on that Cho'Gath was the sufferer of a lot of pressure from the lane swap and then early ganks. Now let's see what's going to happen this time around. The next lock-in is going to be the Vayne. This is, of course, blind into that AD. And if Cobby wants to run the Draven, then Frosco, it is something you talked about in the previous picks and bans.
It's just one of the fun interactions. That said, Draven is still the king of the bot lane. His ability to rock up and just basically half health someone, or at least starting hitting them for 25%. But you have to think they would need to take a hard champion like that now. But right turn, Vedius.
All right, Jinx into Vayne. Now, one of the things about Jinx is she can definitely outrange the Vayne in rocket form, but in terms of one-on-one dueling, in terms of the laning phase, I feel like this is actually not the worst lane for a Vayne. I think what I do like is the synergy between Thresh and Jinx, but to me, this suggests that Splyce, once again, like, they just prefer the scaling carries, and you know, I talked about how we could see a strong AD carry, like the Draven or maybe the Lucian, but the fact that they go for more of these scaling champions, the crit itemization suggests that Splyce is expecting this to be another 30+ minute game. 3 items will come through, and he's saying, well, you know what, I reckon I can hyper carry better than you can hyper carry.
I'm curious if this might be another return to 2015. I would be shocked if we saw another lane swap attempt, but one of the things that Jinx and Trist have in common is their ability to kind of sit and to take plates relatively quickly, either through Satchel or through ramp up attack speed. So it's not the best for Jinx in early levels because she does need more points into her Q, but maybe it's the same thing. We just avoid the lane from Vayne altogether.
Well, another bunch of supports find themselves in the ban pool from Splyce. They take away the Alistar and the Pyke, so Hill is saying we'll need to dig a little deeper. No Morg, no Braum to play with either. And of course it is a Hecarim and a Jace that is now banned away. I believe it was Jace in the first game as well that Vizichachi played and had a very, very good performance with the help of Xerxes early ganking. And now Splyce need to look for their solo laners. They've got several options, directions they can go. If this Azir is locked in, it is. There's a commitment to, we think this game's going late.
Yeah, that's definitely what it suggests, but also it's a really big comfort pick for Humanoid. Those that don't know, Humanoid has been a big Azir player for a very long time. He made a bit of a name for himself on the champion, and the fact that they're blind picking it says that he has a lot of confidence, especially into the Lissandra match.
And then it's a response of the fact that Bwipo has his blind Aatrox. This is the champion that he said on Euphoria that when he doesn't know what his competition is going to be, that this is the one that he feels most comfortable, that he can have those outplay matchups, and now he sees it.
Ooh, Comfort v Comfort, the Shen coming in from Vizichachi. This is, I don't want to say his most played, Trevor, maybe you can confirm for me, but it's definitely one of his favorite champions, and it should be up there.
It is. This split only played twice. This will be the 3rd time. I will double check all-time records in just a moment or two. But again, when you've got an Azir and a Jinx and you have Thresh and Shen, a lot of tools to protect those hard late game carries.
To me, it says that they're looking to play around this bot lane. Quick shot. Now, we shouldn't be surprised if we also see some intention bot lane from the side of Fnatic. Something they love to do with Vayne lanes is that level 2 gank Frost. We've seen it a few times now, and it's just to get Reckless ahead very early, so that once he gets just that bit of gold, that extra level advantage, he can just start to snowball and dominate that lane.
And it's not just the level 2, it's the fact that you also have the likes of the Lysandre, the Jarvan. You know, if Reckless and Hilly ever get a big wave to crash onto that tower, the amount of dive tools are really terrifying. So I actually really like kind of the pivot to Chachi, grabbing something like a Shin to absorb a lot of that pressure.
I'm a huge fan of the tools that's going to give you. And of course, in the hands of Vizichachi, the man on your screen, definitely an incredibly experienced top laner who has had a stellar series so far with the help of Splyce. Now, of course, we will be jumping the game in just a moment. Before we do, Laura is busy setting up backstage for an interview. Post-draft, we can get a quick reaction on how this has played out. Laura standing by with Splyce.
We're ready. Thank you, Duke, for joining me. Can you get me through the level 1 lane swap during game 2? Because we haven't seen this since many years. And outside of getting first blood, what were you expecting?
And we are expecting just to get into the head in this best of 5. Like, we are not here to just lose this best of 5. We just want to destroy them and make sure that after the second game, they are second-guessing everything they do. Whippo was really running it down in the first game, so we wanted really to crush them even more. And yeah, a bit of mind games in the second game.
Well, thank you very much. Now back to you guys.
I absolutely love that. Whippo has a bad game in game 1, so let's elect a strategy to make him even more uncomfortable, get into his head, get under his skin. I love that approach. I love that Duke is willing to say that on camera as well. And now we need to see if this composition can do something similar to Whippo. I imagine the focus is going to be elsewhere.
So before we dive into like the composition, some of the matchups, I really wanted to explore something that we discussed earlier on in the day, which was that for a lot of Fnatic's recent play, it's been very cookie cutter, bread and butter. It's almost like it's standard League of Legends. And the thing about Fnatic is it's not a criticism because they're just very good at it. They simplified the game down. They picked champions that they're good at and they played them very well. They had easy to execute upon win conditions and they found success with it. The thing is, Splyce have now come in prepared and they have answers. They've shaken things up a little bit. So now they're bringing the challenge to Fnatic and they're saying, let's see what else you've got, because we've got a bag of tricks that we're ready to bring to you, and if you don't challenge us, we're going to take this series.
And I also like the idea that it's not just always about the late game. You look at a composition from Splyce that has something like an Azir and a Jinx, and you say, yeah, you got that hyper-scaling potential, but all series long, and in fact, all split long, Splyce do play in the early game, whether it's how they're shutting down enemy junglers or how they're interacting with people. Just because their wins come late doesn't mean that they're not doing anything early.
Yes, the engage, though, that's a good play. Flash away from Norscarin. This is going to be early adaptation from Fnatic. Broxah getting the flash from Norscarin.
And we talked about it in draft, level 2 gank. They do it every single time when they're playing with a Vayne. They love to try and just alleviate any kind of pressure towards the bot side of the map so that Reckless can feel as comfortable as possible. With no flash on the Thresh, that definitely makes trying to set up plays with the side of Splyce that much harder.
Yeah, and it's the idea that Vayne usually has a hard time in these matchups. So like you're saying, without having access to these key summoner spells, it basically just gives a bypassed free lane phase. Now, that said, if this does go to the big 5v5s, I still have to question how easy this is going to be for Reckless to execute on when he's getting such long-range champions like an Azir and a Jinx on a mid-tier range ADC.
Thank you very much, Stats, bringing up the all-time LEC Vizichachi stats. You can see he's played quite a lot of Shen, just over 50% win rate with it, but it's something that he has a lot of comfort on, and it's definitely something he's made a bit of a name for himself on over the years.
And of course, he is under a little bit of pressure as Whippo is jumping onto him in those early stages. Same can be said for Kobe and Norscarin being pushed backwards in that lane. Rumble Chains and the Infernal actually going to pull him backwards. Vizichachi unable to complete the dash because of the knock-up, and that pulled him back. Whippo timing that well. And I love the cheers from the crowd here in Berlin, definitely getting behind this game.
So, I'm really sorry, I got really animated there, quick shot. The reason why is because we actually have a lethal tempo Azir on Humanoid. And this makes me really excited because we've been seeing a lot of Comet and Electrocutes and like Mage kind of builds, but the really great thing about lethal tempo is that once you've got 3 Azir soldiers out, he actually gets a lot of bonus attack speed. And when you stack that with lethal tempo, the late game damage on Azir is just insane. It is so impactful in these fights. And you have to keep your eyes on this Azir as the game progresses because his damage is going to get monstrous.
Remember, Duke said in the interview, get under Bwipo's skin. He was running it down game 1. They did lane swap game 2. Xerxes was thinking about an opportunity, didn't follow it up. And as the recall completes, Bwipo continues to hammer down Chachi. Chachi was planning to recall anyway, even on CS, and the wave's going to push towards him shortly.
I mean, I know it's only 4 minutes in, but Bwipo is not running it down this time around. He is smacking this Shin around. You can see how Chachi wants to play it by trying to play around the chains with his taunt, but it's not working out.
Remember, there's no flasher nor scare, and he's already been ignited. The Lantern comes back up, and there's no follow-up. There's a gigantic wave of minions that Hilly and Reckless want to peel back and fight for. So Kobi's summoner heal was used in that exchange.
I really like Xerxes' pathing here, not only to show up in time when Broxa does, but the fact that because Norscaron doesn't have his flash, they probably called their jungler since their wave is pushing in, and they're saying, we don't want to be extended without any sort of safety. Please come help us.
Oh, Hilly-san gets caught out, chunked down, first blood to Kobi.
Beautiful stuff from the side of Splyce. They find another early advantage against Fnatic, and we talked about this as well in draft. Both junglers likely to look around the bot side of the map. Now, the reason why Xerxes path top was because he was like, Chachi's going to have the push, we want to make sure that he's okay, we want to make sure he's safe. But then the moment they saw all these repeated jungle gang spot, they're like, okay, it's the Fnatic Classic, let's make sure we're here, and Xerxes was ready for the counter.
Yeah, and again, just a great read. Xerxes, we talk about how he's such a strong early game jungler, but a lot of it is his cerebral pathing, even when he's not doing something, his ability to exert pressures. And that's what this started out with, and then he just saw his opportunity to punish.
Really good stuff. The flash knockup. We talked about this last game when Broxa and Hylissang were playing it. Same applies this time round. The Rek'Sai into Thresh, one of those CCs. If one lands, the other lands, and it makes it very difficult to escape from that situation.
And for a third game in a row, Xerxes is having an impact in the early game. Yes, I don't want to discount the fact Broxa also successfully had a gank, popped a summoner spell. These stats were coming into today. So this was up until last weekend. Does not include the first 2 games. First blood participation, higher value for Xerxes. He has been our first blood prince on the spring split. Kills plus assists just behind Broxa, of course. But this game has been hugely influential as Xerxes has just found ways to get his laners ahead.
Did you just demote him to Prince? That says first, Trevor. That's king.
The title of king already belongs to somebody.
I'm sorry, if Vigos doesn't have first next to his name, Xerxes gets it.
I accept that, and then Xerxes has been promoted. Compliments of Frostgurren. Now Broxa and Xerxes in the same area, but Xerxes' recall will complete.
Can we once again just acknowledge the fact that once again Xerxes was topside around the time that Broxa was there? Just kind of ties back into the point that Frost was mentioning, which is like he's just very good at having the identification of where the enemy jungler is. And just look at the minimap, you can see the entire bot side is available, and Xerxes is like, well, there's a risk that he could be towards topside, so I'll clear topside out, I'll hang around, maybe if he comes, then I'll be ready for the count again.
And now there's so much more freedom for him to play bottom because Chachi now has access to the Stand United. So we talked about how there's these tools that they can try to absorb any sort of pressure that Fnatic will likely put into this bot lane. They've all been unlocked now.
And of course with Xerxes, great reads of Broxa. Last weekend, great reads, a great team play around Selfmade and SK Gaming, just partially why Splyce were able to get ahead and take that series. It's just a very, very good sign, and the pressure is on Fnatic. I have felt over the course of the 2 games, Splyce have been the more impressive team. The advantages that Fnatic got in game 1 were largely because of the mistakes Splyce made setting up around Dragon. And right now, Splyce, the first big moves of this game, it is still only a small gold lead, but it is one that they've capitalized like they did in the previous game.
It's funny that you mentioned that, quick shot, because one of the quote-unquote criticisms, or benefits rather, I had of Fnatic was that they didn't really show anything against Vitality. Vitality kind of lost that game rather than Fnatic won it. While they had a really good game 3, I was like, coming into this series, Fnatic haven't actually showed anything. They actually have all their cards held to their chest, which is a really big advantage for them. But we're kind of seeing the same thing where a lot of their leads have come through the mistakes of their opposition, and you know, you have to start to wonder what happens if Splyce don't make mistakes. Can Fnatic be the proactive ones? Can they be the ones to find these early leads, and can they be the ones to turn these into big advantages? Because so far in this series, as you rightly said, I do think Splyce have been the ones that are really dictating the pace.
Yeah, and of course it helps with Xerxes. I have just a little quick stat for you. Kobi obviously picked up first blood. That was his 8th first blood of the split. He currently leads the league there in kill, first bloods. The next AD carry is Patrick at 4. Now take a look at this. Xerxes once again with the help of Stand United, an easy kill onto Broxah, reading him like a book. It's not done yet. Now Reckless and Hilly, they're trying to pick up a fight. Chachi's come over the wall, but take a look at Reckless. He's sticking inside, tumbles away to safety. Defensive flash from Kobe. The Darkened Blade is starting to chase down. Whippo's looking for an opportunity. Can't find a Splyce target. Chachi will lose his life, but not enough to kill Reckless. The zaps come out, the knock up from Whippo. There's the stand aside. Now all of a sudden the damage is coming out. Kobe's now running for his life. Norscarin still sticking around. The flash comes in. There comes the dash and the Gleaming Quill. Hylissang kills Norscarin. They punish Splyce, and Fnatic turn it round.
And what started off as a simple kill onto Broxah ends up being 4 kills in favor of Fnatic, and they flip this early game in their favor.
Betties, weren't you just talking about how Fnatic are able to turn mistakes made against them into their own advantages? That was Splyce's play. They were the ones that pulled the trigger on the Stand United. They didn't use it defensively, they used it aggressively and just overreached.
So we're going to check out this Alienware replay, and you can see Broxah, he ends up dying. Very good gank, he walks through vision that he doesn't have, and then the bot lane decides to start a fight. Now a really crisp reaction from Hylissang, along with an immediate teleport from Aatrox, ends up being a 3-for-3, or 3 versus 3 rather, but Norscarin's forced out of the fight. So it very quickly becomes a 1 versus 3. Now Splyce, rather than just disengage and lose their top laner, think, you know what, we can turn this around, we can fight this. Norscarin is sticking around, Kobe overextends, and now Humanoid gets stuck because he's ulted, and he can't click the Lantern because of a great ward from Fnatic. They then find themselves in this situation where Whippo can chase them down, and it's just kill after kill after kill.
It's a completely different fight if Kabe doesn't expend his ultimate there trying to find the snipe earlier up in the river. If he had it when Fnatic initially got, or when Splyce initially got split up, that is a completely different outcome from Splyce. So very small, you know, cooldown differences, target selection, that was the big key difference maker there.
And of course the 4 kills for Fnatic, 1 to everybody except Broxah, distributed evenly, a number of summoner spells blown across the board, so Humanoid and Kobe got to be a little bit cautious. While we're in the replay, Splyce were able to pick up the first Cloud Drake of the game, and Fnatic are now in charge, around 1,500 gold up, and Whippo on this Aatrox is already looking much more comfortable than the 2 previous games.
Well, it's nice that the jungler hasn't come multiple times, or the bot lane, or, you know, all of Splyce trying to kill him. Definitely makes him a slightly happier top laner, and currently sitting at 1-0-3, been involved in every single kill. Whippo definitely on one of his big comfort champions, working towards some pretty big items early.
Yeah, we'll see which direction he decides to go. And for Fnatic, that's a very good sign. You know, turning the fight around when the pressure is on. Had that gone Splyce's way, you'd have to start pegging them for favorites to go ahead. You know, the mental of Fnatic was boom, so to speak. And take a look at this. Death sentence, flay, box. Hylissang is eaten alive by Kobe and Norscarin, and Xerxes may even fancy a shot if Reckless sticks around without that flash.
Just too easy, and the fact that Thresh as a champion allows so much kill potential with so many different partners down there in that bot lane. You can see there the death sentence into the box, into the traps. There was just nothing Hilly could do. He couldn't get to react.
No, if Reckless sticks around, I'm trying to see where Xerxes is. He's moving back into the red buff area, clearing out some of the wards, a number of plates secured by Splyce. And still a minute and a half roughly before those plates go down. And Broxah will be able to drop that Rift Herald, which Fnatic secured a few moments ago. I want to keep my eyes on how many plates he can help secure, because Fnatic are now only 1,000 gold up, thanks to what was a very good setup by Norscarin.
Yeah, good stuff from him. Now Broxah returns to the river where he previously lost his life to help clear out some vision, and you will notice that a lot of the vision from Splyce is invested towards the bot side. Thanks to that kill that they got from earlier on, Xerxes could get a couple of deep wards down, along with Norscarin. But you already talked about the Rift Herald play. They will use this to try and help secure a couple of tower plates in the mid lane. And notice how, if you look at the minimap, you can see Fnatic actually have 3 lanes pushed in right now because Splyce have just looked to reset. Kobe actually comes mid, which gives a lot more time for Reckless to freely hit onto this tower, uncontested. And now he's actually level 9 due to the death that his support recently had, allowing him to soak up all this experience.
Yeah, really nicely done. Reckless on the Vayne, getting closer to Blade of the Rune King. Kobe 2-1-0. He's already got himself the Infinity Edge. He's definitely going to be dropping the average Infinity Edge timing with this series alone because of how well he's played in the early game. But what I like from the observers, they highlighted all 3 lanes and how all 3 lanes of Fnatic shoved up to tower, pushing deeper and deeper. Obviously, Herald in the mid helped, and Whippo on this Aatrox. definitely a decent matchup into that Shen.
Now that Lissandra TP has been used mid lane, there might be a window where Splyce decide, okay, Nemesis can't impact the map right now. Bwipo also doesn't have his TP. There's a small window where we actually have a numbers advantage if we pick a fight away from these opponents. So I actually want to see Xerxes play very proactively right now in tandem with Chachi to try to break the fact that Fnatic are just passively winning a lot of these lanes right now. They're forced up. If you don't impact them, they'll just continue to whittle away.
Yeah, I agree with that. And once again, it's Broxah looking for an opportunity right now for the side of Fnatic. There's a lot of good vision just around the entrances towards the bot side of the map for Splyce, which is making it difficult for Broxah to look for an opportunity right now. But you talked about the Shen ultimate, and I think one of the things that they've missed is that window where the teleport was unavailable for Bwipo, and now it is just about to come up. And he's just freely hitting on this top side, getting to a point where he's stronger than Chachi, so he can just bully him out of lane. And if Chachi ever teleports out, they're going to lose that top tower.
Yeah, and it's the fact that because they know that the tower can possibly be traded or Aatrox could follow him down, when they pick their moment, it must work, because Chachi would lose so much if it wasn't absolutely a kill into a dragon, into a tower, something like that.
Yeah, that dragon, by the way, 30 seconds to Infernal. Vision has been contested in this bottom quadrant of the map a lot over the last few minutes. Fnatic are up nearly 2,000 gold and setting up for a potential dive because this tower's going low. Broxah's gone in, and this is going to be enough to force Splyce away. Teleport will be completed from Bwipo. This alleviates that pressure on Chachi, but it does secure the first tower.
I just feel like with this stalemate, though, of Splyce just kind of watching Fnatic, Splyce trying to figure out their moment, they were a bit too patient, a bit too cautious, because now they lose their tower, you know, Vayne just gets all of that free farm, all of that free time, and now they have perfect positioning on an Infernal of all things.
Yeah, and that's why I think it was fine to invest the teleport, because you're guaranteeing this Drake off the back of it as well. And Fnatic, they can now look to set up a siege on the mid lane tower. Tried to steal it away with the Jinx rocket, but it wasn't even close. And look, one hit away. This should be a clean tower for Fnatic.
Oh, Bwipo's going to fancy it, but at what cost? The Emperor's Divide, and Bwipo's going to get into... Oh! Where did that damage come from? I demand a replay, because I did not see the reinforcements dive bombing Splyce.
That felt like the Shy just landed on Splyce right there. Massive DPS.
Unbelievable, and my apologies to all headphone users around the world, because I just lost my mind at that damage. I legitimately cannot wait to see the replay, because I was looking at the action and not the minimap, and Fnatic just flew in.
It must be Aatrox and Lissandra hitting at the same time.
Yeah,
That was it. Oh.
It's called the Fnatic dunk. When they're back against the wall, they throw everything in the kitchen sink at the wall. And normally a Civic Q would be in there as well, but obviously they couldn't get their hands on the Civic. But yeah, when we bring the replay up, we'll see exactly. The one thing to note is Lissandra does have her Luden's Echo completed. I believe that he was on Black Cleaver with Bwipo as well. So here we are. Let's have a look.
Oh, please go slow-mo if you can.
Let's see. So Nemesis goes in. Remember, the goal is the tower, and 3 members of Splyce are collapsing in. Hillasang is around as well, but the flash knocker. Now keep your eyes on what Nemesis lands his ultimate onto. Right into the middle, it goes onto the carry. Then you also have the critical point from Bwipo's second proc of Q, I think it was. Yep. May have been third, couldn't quite catch it.
I don't want to be like, you know, dictate what the social team are going to do.
I don't know, they're just grouped up.
But we need to get a mechanics breakdown of that one a little later today.
That was
Fnatic.
He just crowd surfed on Splyce.
5,000 gold up, 7 kills to 3. And yes, this has been a very snazzy, fancy style of lead that Fnatic have accrued. The team fight around the back of the dragon, and now that giant wombo. But more importantly to me is that 3 towers are secured. This should be a kill into Hillasang. Humanoid uses the slide and glide and divide and shoots the bird down in his stride.
What's important to remember is that... Oh god, that hurt. What's important to remember is how Fnatic got this lead. Because we talk a lot about it, and we've talked about it in this series, is that Fnatic are great at punishing mistakes. And the moment they have a lead, they're very good at League of Legends, right? They know exactly how to punish, they know exactly how to push their lead, and we're seeing it now, how they're moving around the map, how they're converting it into more and more objectives. And 18 minutes in, they're already sitting in a 5,500 gold lead. But it comes from the fact that you make that single mistake, you get punished for that small misstep, and immediately it feels like the whole game is falling apart around.
I also really like the wind-up to get to that point from Fnatic. The fact that they used the Rift Herald in the mid lane, and it was just Nemesis that ate up all of those plates, and he just got so much gold from it, puts him in this position where he has a nice bounty on his head. He's now sitting 2-0-3 and has the completed 2 items. A very cost-efficient build that Fnatic gifted to him by giving him resources like that early Herald.
And you can see now across the board, Fnatic in matchup per matchup are very far ahead. Broxah, even though he hasn't been involved in a lot of the early kills, his farm has still been very good. He's a level up against Xerxes. Vizichachi a level down against Bwipo. Humanoid a level down against Nemesis. Kobe a level down. You can see the trend where Fnatic are just continuing to push, and now they're looking for another pick.
All right, Humanoid will get the Stand United, but it simply isn't going to end up. Stand United completes. That's another kill for Bwipo and Fnatic. Nemesis is now on a killing spree. The attention turns to Norskeren. Death sentence into box will not help anybody, and Reckless late to the party, not even needed, as Fnatic pick up 2 kills.
I mean, frankly, if Chachi Stand United's on Humanoid, he just Uber Eats at that point. It's just free delivery service and free food for Fnatic. Humanoid is so far behind his counterpoint. I believe it's something like 2K gold right now.
Yeah, I'll quickly double check on my screen, Frosco. That is about right.
It got worse.
2,500 behind for Humanoid, 3,000 down for Vizichachi. But look, at 20 minutes, when you have an 8,000 gold lead, that's going to be the case.
But the difference is kind of the responsibility that Lissandra and Azir play to these team fights. If you think about the mid laners as being the big zone control, especially for such a long-range champion like Kabe, Splyce's team fight is actually really pivotal on this Azir that's able to zone, create space, and do damage. So they are really stalled out for how far behind Humanoid is, and they need to make concerted efforts to get him back in this game before their composition starts ramping up to do what it needs to do.
And take a look at the items. I mean, Humanoid's got the Nash's Tooth and then some thrift shopping, you know? Codex as well as Arm Guard. Turn your attention to Nemesis. 10 stacks on the Soul Stealer. Got Protobelt, got Luden's Echo. You've got Ghostblade and Black Cleaver for Bwipo against the Sunfire Cape. I mean, pound for pound, and now with Rage Blade, Blade of the Ruined King, Reckless is also sitting comfy. He's late to the 2-item party as far as 80 carries are concerned. But I like the options that Vayne is going to bring in these side lanes as the game continues to play out.
Seeing as we're speaking about mid laners, Humanoid was actually the original mid laner for Mad Lions. He was then replaced by Nemesis.
Just salt in the wound right now.
Yep, and now they go up against each other here in the LEC. And whenever we had RNA on the show, he always talked so passionately about them. Both very talented players. I believe Nemesis was ranked 2nd on Rookie of the Split behind Selfmade, and then Humanoid was actually 3rd. So it was a very close competition between the two, and a lot of growth and respect has been shown towards them. But right now, it is definitely the Nemesis and Bwipo show. Goes to show what happens when you don't camp Bwipo, when you just leave him to his own devices. He can definitely be a big carry for the team. And it's funny because Reckless, we haven't even mentioned his name this game because he's just been quietly sitting in a side lane, farming away while the rest of Fnatic work their way through the Splyce members.
And also importantly, his opposite number hasn't been absolutely smashing. Very good flash from Nemesis. Now Humanoid's in some trouble. Broxah's going to be forced to run away. Helisang maybe chasing. There comes Nemesis, gets the root. Humanoid escapes with his life for now. Reckless doesn't fancy a shot in a 1v5, decides to dash back in, gets a couple of autos, and sidesteps away. Death Sentence will find the 80 carry, but it's simply not enough to get the kill. Super Mega Death Rocket gets no kills today. Defensive flashes as Reckless continues to tumble forward. Silver Bolts proc and Chachi, and now all of a sudden Fnatic peel backwards. They've got vision control and maybe Baron control.
Yeah, and reminder, that was ultimately a 4v5. Bwipo was sitting in the mid lane like, guys, I've got this. I've got the tower. I farmed myself up. We can just walk this one towards Baron.
His TP was also interrupted by Vizichachi, who then had the ultimate afterwards to try and rejoin. And now Fnatic have actually started off this Baron. They have all 5 members here. This isn't the fastest Baron in the world.
It's not. Nemesis has no ultimate, has no flash. Nemesis is in trouble. Nemesis is down. Fnatic, they tried to do that too quickly, and Splyce were able to respond. They get themselves a kill. They also get the teleports from both Bwipo and Nemesis over the course of the last minute.
They do need to be careful with their back timers and stagger this right now because Splyce are all full health. It looks like they're going to take the safer play by getting control over mid lane, pushing on the tower, and clearing out the vision. But Splyce could have very easily just turned on the Baron themselves.
I ultimately think it was a pretty greedy play from Fnatic as well. They didn't need to do the Baron. They could have just reset and then started setting up for vision around it. Because they already have such good vision control over the enemy jungle, it would have been really difficult for Splyce to approach. But also, he lost all of his Magi Soul Stealer stacks, which is really the biggest crime of that play. he was over the wall, he didn't have flash, didn't have ulti, ended up losing his life, and a lot more. And just goes to show, kids, don't run Magi's unless you're 20-0.
Do so responsibly.
Do so responsibly.
I really wasn't sure where that was going to go, but I like where it landed. Good message to send the fans at home.
I mean, it means that a lot of the advantage that Lissandra had built up, which he still has one, has now faded away.
Okay.
And meanwhile, we said that Humanoid, he's really pivotal to making this composition work in the 5v5. He's that much closer to these big power breakpoints because he does have his Hourglass now, which gives him a lot cleaner and safer engagement. So it actually could be a very big deal that Nemesis lost so much power in his back pocket by feeding away those stacks when he had a big lead.
Also a couple item breakpoints for the side of Splyce. Zhonya's now completed for Humanoid. It's actually a pretty big deal. He's caught up in levels to Nemesis, which means that as things progress, he's going to get stronger and stronger, and he's going to have a little bit more survivabilities in these fights. And also, Koei working towards his third crit item as well, which means that he's getting to a point where he can be a big threat and help carry these team fights as well. So I think Splyce are getting to a point where it will be harder for Fnatic to snowball as convincingly as they have been. So they've got to show the same respect that Splyce showed to them in Game 2, where a big bad team fight could actually swing the game back in favor of Splyce.
Excellent point, Thaddeus.
And especially when you look at the team fight power that the Splyce composition has. Fnatic have started this Baron as a 5-man unit. Humanoid, no TP available. Xerxes going to use that passive to spot it out, and Nemesis has got a good flank opportunity. The Baron is down to 2,000. Chachi's inside the pit. There's a fight to multiple fronts. Baron this time secured by Fnatic, and now an ensuing fight. That's already one kill onto Xerxes. Bwippa is dunked down, Kobe. He's going to use that Aatrox to its maximum powers. Reckless slides around the divide. He finally gets shut down by the Conquering Sands. And as it stands, it's Fnatic that get the ace, it's Fnatic that get the Baron, and it's Fnatic that are looking at the base.
Those are long death timers, and with the Baron buff, Fnatic could look to end the game right now. There is no Splyce opposition to stand in their way.
30 seconds on several members of Splyce. Baron in powered cannon minions. This could just be it. Fnatic have taken 2 inhibitors. The minions are making their way onto the Nexus turrets, and what is the next step? Back away. Fnatic do not want to make the same mistake they did at Baron.
Reset and spend all of that free gold that you got as we take another look back at this setup. So the fact is that Fnatic, they've done their homework. They don't necessarily have the cleanest deep wards, but they did prepare the Baron and they can burn through it very quickly. So I think the initial thought here is we see initially that Splyce are stuck into their base. Let's see how much damage we can get done with it before Splyce show up.
And just actually plays this about as well as he can. Notice how he tunnels behind so he doesn't get CC'd by the Lissandra. Flashes in, unfortunately Spike's a little too early. 200 HP was the Baron, allowing Broxah to clean that one up. The problem is all of Splyce were so focused on stealing away the Baron that it left the Jinx exposed, and Bwippa was just like, yeah, no, I'll have one of them. I will obliterate your AD carry and I will feed my sword with your blood.
I mean, Bwippa's had a really, really good game on Aatrox. It feels like he's connected with so many of those chains. It's rare for me to see so many of them hit consecutively, and he's just playing the zoning really well. 5-0 and 6, and working towards his 4th item.
It just showcases, you know, why this champion is normally banned away from Bwippa. And again, just the confidence that he has to blind pick it. He's said it publicly. If you leave this champion open, I will blind pick it. I will smash you.
And as it stands, Bwippa currently has 3 wins, 0 losses on the champion. 11, 5, and 12. He's going to be adding 5 additional kills and 6 assists to that record. 12,000 gold up. Gigantic advantages, ladies and gentlemen. Nemesis has got those 10 stacks and the Soul Stealer back, I'd like you to know, as the last stand is on the cards for Splyce. Super minions pouring into the base. Ultimates available for all of Splyce, but take a look at this. There's once again the chains connecting. Bwippa dashes forward, manages to connect with another Q. Humanoid's now running for his life as Bwippa is doing his best to zone. Reckless manages once again to dodge the Azir ultimate, but look at the follow-up damage. Silver bolts on the fountain is enough to get a double kill. Reckless running for his life. Super mega death rocket, not going to be enough just yet. Manages to find one to Hilliseg. Chachi chasing forward, using the zone of damage control, and Splyce survive the fight.
And this is where we hold them. Splyce lose everything in their base, but they got multiple shutdowns on key members, because the fact of the matter is that Fnatic were just stronger. They had more of their item breakpoints. Now with all of these shutdowns, you have Azir, you have Jinx. Suddenly they can get back into the game.
And I will be honest, I think Fnatic, they got a little too confident in this play of theirs. I didn't respect the Azir ultimate right here, and what we're going to see is Bwippa make the I'm really fed on Aatrox play and think that he can kill anyone. Really, you should turn and focus the towers in this situation. Instead, he went for kills. The rest of the team decided to follow, and Humanoid had a fantastic 3-man ultimate, and that was the beginning of the turnaround. Kobe, he was able to regen on the base. Vizichachi was keeping Nemesis busy on the backline, and to be fair, Nemesis was doing what he was supposed to there, trying to end the game, and all these shutdowns then come through for Splyce.
Can you imagine being the new guy on the team like, guys, can you hit the Nexus?
And you can just see the damage there. Humanoid and Kobe really pulling their weight. Kobe now level 15, Reckless only level 14. But Fnatic still in a prime position while a lot of gold was handed over to Splyce. 16 to 11 in kills, still an 8,000 gold lead. The entire base is exposed. The Nexus doesn't even have any turrets left.
Okay, Kobe got himself a lot of items, as you guys have mentioned, and here comes Hylissang.
Just rush the Nexus.
Can Splyce do this again? Hylissang dumps all the way forward. Fnatic is split up, but it's already cost him. Brox has gone down. Reckless has gone down. Ladies and gentlemen, Splyce will not go quietly into the night, and Bwipo's now running for his life. 5, 1, and 8. Splyce have held the base again.
You can't just ignore them, Fnatic. Look at the difference in the itemization.
Oh, Bwipo though, he's going to get the 1v2.
Bwipo gets a 1v2. May actually be able to turn this one around as well. Running for his life, the chains will help. Chachi needs to get the Spirit's Refuge down.
No way.
Oh. Bwipo goes gold.
Kobe's here.
Now comes Kobe, dash away, and that's the ace. Splyce, hold on, they're only 5k down.
Ooh.
Oh, right, now, as we have the Vizichachi looking back, his memory of the fight, you can see that Fnatic just commit, but they can't kill Kobe. He's sitting on the back line, and he survives. Brox is the first one to drop, and Nemesis is actually very late to the party. And I'm not actually... Oh, he ends up ulting behind the turret, and he actually ends up getting melted by this Azir turret on the back line as well. I think the fact that everyone was clumped up allowed Humanoid and Kobe to basically be untouched, allow their front line to soak up all this damage, and then Splyce just hold the line for even longer.
Ladies and gentlemen, jump into chat and spam. Will Splyce win this game? They have held Fnatic at their no Nexus turret Nexus twice now. They are continuing to scale in items. 4 apiece for Humanoid and Kobe. Vote now. Will Splyce win this game, yes or no?
So I very quickly would like to ask the observers to swap over to the gold, as we will now notice that Splyce have actually caught up for us.
Yeah, and that's the key thing. Again, all of those shutdown bonuses went on exactly where they needed to go. We said that Humanoid needs to be a real champion for this composition to be effective, because look at Reckless on the Vayne. He's going to be the big carry alongside Bwipo, and these are a melee champion and a fairly short-range ADC. It is so hard for Fnatic to split into that full 5v5 and try to fight against a fed Azir. So they can't leave the base, Splyce, so this should be a free Baron for Fnatic, but now I think they have to use this to smother Splyce and their own base.
Well, yeah, definitely no more over-eager plays if you're a Fnatic fan and you want them to clean this up more cleanly than the previous attempt.
I call it a wood chipper. Basically, if you've seen a Christmas tree go into a wood chipper, you don't want Fnatic to do that again into Azir Jinx.
Yeah. So if you're in a solo queue game and you look at your Vayne and be like, okay, we're in late game team fights, I really need you to carry now, Reckless, and you turn to him and you realize, why do you have double Vamp Scepter? And right now, he's sitting at 33% lifesteal. And I don't know if it was a misclick. You imagine he's maybe working towards a Bloodthirster. There's also a QSS in there. Like, there are definitely many items I can see him building. It just surprises me that he's sitting on double Vamp Scepter right now.
Yep, that's definitely one. There's a few questions that we're going to have to ask the players and teams after the series wraps up. For now, though, Fnatic going to have one more shot into the breach. They've got Baron-empowered minions. Humanoid is running onto Bwipo. Bwipo's already going to have his ultimate, bring him back to life. Now, Bwipo's in trouble. GA has now been popped. Humanoid's not done yet. Inhibitor in the middle lane secured. Not enough support for the rest of Fnatic. Bwipo is down. Humanoid has done enough to defend the bottom lane, but Fnatic have secured the second inhibitor, and this is about smothering Splyce, like you said, Froscorin.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Fnatic have realized, okay, we can't fight them on fair footing, so let's just try to pull them around their base.
Fnatic have been here before. There was a certain game versus G2 where there was an exposed Nexus, and all they needed to do was win one more fight to end the game, but the enemy team held the line. Now Fnatic face down this situation again. Arguably, they've got more experience. They should be the ones with the advantages in this situation, but Splyce with this comp, it's only going to get stronger. Well, it's kind of at its strongest now with all these builds being completed.
Yep.
It is indeed, and of course, it is all up to how Fnatic play these next few fights. For Splyce, they are still on the defensive. but Humanoid and Kabi have shown when their backs are against the wall, maybe they're at their strongest. They're able to win so many of these fights. That was the last regular Elemental Drake of the game. Next is going to be Elder. Just as a quick aside, Fnatic have 0 Elders all split. Splyce actually have the most at 5.
Because that's frankly kind of the only advantage that Fnatic have. Unless Splyce make a big mistake and kind of misposition to get picked out, they shouldn't fall down in a fair 5v5, so they need to take advantage of their map control.
Oh, Nemesis uses the Proto Belt to safety. Kabi's Super Mega Death Rocket is used, but look, Fnatic trying to play the map.
But exactly, they want to open up another win condition of having the Elder Dragon, and hopefully that will be enough to kind of get them over this hump that Splyce have created.
Yeah, because realistically, in a grouped up 5v5, Splyce are now the ones with the advantage. The Azir ultimate is going to cause a lot of chaos, and it goes back to a point you made at the beginning of the game, Frost, which is that Vayne is quite short range. The ultimate from Azir is going to make it difficult for Bwipo to get onto the back line. You can very easily separate Broxer and Hylissang from the rest of his team, and Fnatic are going to have to find a new creative way of forcing Splyce into a fight that they can actually come out on top of.
And it's not even just the Azir. As the game goes on longer, and even the likes of like Rek'Sai and Chachi, if you wanted to get super creative, you send Rek'Sai and Shin into that backline. Like, how is Reckless actually supposed to play out these fights? This is so difficult to execute on.
Well, this is the situation Fnatic find themselves. Opted into this. Obviously, it was that blind pick Vayne. And the response was the Jinx. By the way, 405 CS for Kabi at 34 minutes. Multiple super minion waves pushing all the way in. She's not going to be able to do anything, but look at the damage there onto Nemesis.
That was from a single Azir, by the way. He queued into auto, that was all the health gone. And imagine, he has 3 of them out. He gets 50% bonus attack speed on top of the bonus attack speed he already gets passively from his W, and then a lethal tempo kicks in.
Okay, so Baron has worn off. Elder's going to be coming up in about 3-ish minutes, roughly. Do Fnatic need either of those to win this out?
Yes. That's because the only thing that they have is control of the map, because Splyce need to sit in their base and start to clean minions out. As these inhibs respawn, then it gets even scarier. So Fnatic are kind of like, okay, hopefully we can split them up with the Baron. Maybe we get the Elder. Maybe it's enough to put us over the team fight. But eventually Splyce will actually be able to exit the base, and we may actually have a scenario again where Fnatic are like, pull them out of the base, we'll slip behind them.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I'm not sure when Hylissang bought the Righteous Glory. Not Righteous Glory. Again,
the Reverie.
The Reverie, the Shurelya's Reverie, that's the one. But that's the reason why he won last time, because it was him and Reckless with the heal and the Reverie, sneaking behind the enemy.
Super quickly, as we're getting late into the game, Splyce have traditionally not come back when they fell behind at 15 minutes. The biggest comeback they've had all split long is when they were down 900 gold to XL. And the reason I bring this up, it feels really likely that Splyce could put up a stand. They were down 1,700 gold at 15 minutes. They are still down 4,000 gold. They have no turrets at all. And yet, Fnatic are unable to get over that final hurdle.
The gold absolutely does not matter. The towers are very important. So what I really want to point out is, as the possibility of a backdoor actually increases, you know, if they use this Reverie, if Vayne and Rakan try to slip in behind to get the Nexus, it's where the vision is placed from Splyce. When you're trying to guard against a backdoor like that, you need to make sure that you can see into the Fog of War, because you're checking for pathways for people to kind of weasel behind you, you know, like Splinter Cell high style into Fog of War to slip in underneath.
I'm taking a look at the wards right now. I think they've got most of the entrances covered, Frost. And as it stands, Bwipo's going to be in trouble. Here comes Humanoid. Bwipo's running for his life. A few seconds left before GA is available to him. World Ender is up as well. By the way, Elder Dragon 10 seconds. Sorry, 1 minute. It's Baron in 10 seconds. So Fnatic, they could look for double buffs before they look to finish the game.
And those monster objectives, again, are just so important.
They are indeed. And so is Humanoid and Kabi's flashes. Both of them are up. They're under any pressure. Hylissang, they find...
Okay, sell Magi's, please, Nemesis. We're past that point now. You need to get rid of that item, get a Void Staff in there. It's definitely not going to be as valuable this late into the game.
He's just waiting
for
Here we go. This is it.
All right, take a look at this. Baron has been started. This is Splyce's vision. Relying on Rek'Sai's passive. Remember, Stand United is available for Vizichachi, so is the teleport, and there are no super minions pushing into the base. Splyce are trying to buy as much time as possible.
And you can see we're about half HP right now on the Baron. It is slowly being melted through. Splyce have no vision around the river, but Fnatic, they're too afraid to commit. The actual flank in from Nemesis, committing to try and secure that inhibitor. Oh, look at this. Really good decision-making from Fnatic.
All right, let's take a look. Pressure on the bottom lane. Now all of a sudden, Chachi forced to run for his life. Whippo and Nemesis, now they're backing away. Cersei's trying to turn this around. That is, of course, the Azir touchdown. But look, with Splyce peeled all the way to the bottom, this could set up for Baron. Nemesis is running. Stand United onto Humanoid. Humanoid throws his flash away. Whippo's buying time. 3 members of Fnatic will be able to have the Baron buff. GA's going to buy some additional time.
Look at
Hylissang is now pushing onto the inhibitor.
It's happening again! It's happening again!
Of being pushed into the base. This is exactly how Fnatic wanted to use that Baron, but it's at the cost of 2 team members.
This is actually so intelligent here. Now, Splyce will get the Elder. There's no way that anyone can do anything about this. Maybe Broxa comes through for a steal.
But it's so risky.
But it would just be suicide, and the death timers are too devastating. But the fact that Fnatic were like, okay, pressure the bottom inhib, make sure that they can't contest this at Baron, get Baron for free. Hilly, meanwhile, while we're doing it, run up, get Baron empowered minions, and get the inhib. Brilliant map play by Fnatic.
6 Elder Dragons all split for Splyce. Fnatic continue to have none on the map. Fnatic, however, picked themselves up a Baron. They killed yet another inhibitor. By the end of this split, Fnatic may have killed more inhibitors than most teams have killed champions. And Fnatic are now trying once again to figure out how to unlock this map. By the way, Mercurial Scimitar now picked up for Reckless as well as Bloodthirster. Medjai's is still inside Nemesis's back pocket, so we don't love that one. But as it stands, those double vamps now a little bit more valuable.
We're at the point of the game where people are selling boots. You just pointed out that the Scimitar has been complete for Reckless. Check out Kabe's items. That guy has no shoes. He's like, where am I gonna go? We're sitting in our base.
Give me more swords. I just need the damage right now. Hylissang trying to look to use the Baron buff rather on a side lane. Humanoid secretly sitting in the bush looking for a pick. Won't find it though. Now Fnatic spread across all 3 lanes. There's no Baron buff on Nemesis, so he can't really threaten.
All right, 40 minutes in, 37 kills on the board. Countless opportunities for Fnatic to push this one forward, and now they're pushing 3 lanes. They've got those Barons that we've already alluded to multiple times. Kabe on 6 items. Remember, if you never leave your base, you don't need boots. Nemesis is chunked out from a couple of autos. Bwipo and Brox.
Oh, they're going!
They're going for the Nexus! Kabe flashes backwards defensively. Bwipo's going to try to use that Whirlwind. That's going to bring it back up. The Nexus is being focused. That's a kill into Reckless. Fnatic have done it! What the hell is that ending?
And it was off the back of Hylissang once again! He was the guy that went behind enemy lines. He was the guy that used the Baron to steal the inhibitor. And then Fnatic go for the commitment on the Nexus.
Thaddeus, you called it. You said that Fnatic and G2 were in this position. That Fnatic have the experience. You know what? Fnatic knew exactly what they needed to do to backdoor, and they sneak the win away from Splyce.
But the key word here is experience. It's the fact that in high-pressure, clutch situations, Fnatic knew they could no longer win the 5v5. They must figure out Rubik's Cube, problem solve, figure out how to solve this game, and they did it. And they did it multiple times. Not just with that backdoor, but with that crazy map play on the Baron, the bottom inhib, and the top inhib.
I'm going to tell you right now, if you are a Fnatic fan, that is not how that game was supposed to end. I'm going to stop celebrating the fun for a moment and say Fnatic almost botched that.
They did.
Fnatic gave Splyce so many opportunities to come back into the game that they simply should not have done. But it did not buckle them under the pressure, and they did find it.
I mean, I'm starting to get this feeling that Fnatic is not actually that great at making proactive plays. Like, when it comes to actually trying to make a decision and actually end up committing to something, they end up messing it up. And
I don't know. Like, I understand what you're saying. I feel like you can go either way on it, but the fact of the matter is we shouldn't be saying that of a top team. You know, you want to be like, they're so good at X, Y, and Z.
For sure.
Because I agree, they definitely botched it up. But you go back and watch the tape, you're like, but they botched it up because they thought that they had won and they got over-eager. If they had just focused on it, it would have closed out. Like, you can go so many different sides to this.
That's true.
I'm so, you know, I don't know what Shucks and the analysts are going to do. There's not enough time to truly break down everything that has happened in this game, let alone this series so far. But one thing is for sure, both teams are showing that they are capable of winning the series, and both teams are showing both good and bad moments over the course of the 3 games. I mean, that team fight what feels like 35 minutes ago, got Fnatic a bunch of kills, and it got Fnatic the opportunity to accelerate further ahead.
So one of the things that does concern me for Splyce is that they almost defaulted to comfort once again, and they really did go for scaling, and it allowed Fnatic to get to this really have full control of the early game.
We will have more time to talk in another game. Unfortunately, the analysts are chomping at the bit. There's only one win standing by between Fnatic and Spot in Rotterdam. We'll see how they close this out when we return.